The Cursed Church of Manali, the tale of the evil nun. Outside the silent ruins of a long-abandoned church, nestled on the outskirts of Manali, a stray dog was barking frantically into the night. It was as if the darkness held something unseen, something terrifying. The animal's growls echoed through the cold, eerie air, when suddenly, a strange shadow emerged from within the church gates, rippling like smoke. The dog's voice froze in its throat. Its bark turned into a silent gasp as fear gripped its being. That shadowy figure floated near, and without a sound, the dog, drawn by some supernatural force, was lifted into the air, its body trembling, and dragged inside the church. Its panicked yelps still echoed, but then, all went quiet. Moments later, the dog's body came floating back out through the air. But now it was lifeless, its eyes glazed, its fur ghostly white. For decades, that church had stood isolated on the edge of the city. Locals whispered stories about it, but never dared to go near. No one knew what lay within, and those who passed by after dark often felt an inexplicable chill, like being watched. A few days later, a group of college students arrived in Manali for a weekend trip. Excitement was in the air, but the students were disheartened to learn their trip was going to be tightly monitored. "Dude, they're treating us like kindergarten kids," said Roshan, sneaking out of the hotel with his friends. "Seriously. No freedom at all, this place, not that place, eat at this time, sleep at that time. I thought we'd chill with the girls, but they've been booked into another hotel. Let's get out and explore on our own." "A little thrill wouldn't hurt," Jatin added, smirking. And so, without informing their teacher, the three boys, Roshan, Jatin, and Mandeep, snuck out of the hotel and wandered into the quiet, moonlit streets of Manali. As they walked along a desolate road, they came across the old, eerie church. "Wow," Jatin whispered. "It looks beautiful, in a creepy kind of way." "Yeah, but there's something off about it. Looks like no one's been here in decades. Let's go inside." "Not now," Mandeep hesitated. "Let's come back in the morning." "No way. In the morning, the teachers will be all over us again." "Now's the time," Roshan said, flicking on his phone's flashlight. "Besides, we've got torches. A little adventure will spice up this boring trip." Mandeep was reluctant, but peer pressure won. Together, the three stepped into the forbidden threshold of the church. Inside, cobwebs hung from the ceiling like curtains of time. Dust choked the air. As the torchlight pierced the darkness, dozens of bats fluttered from the rafters and flew out screeching into the night. "This place has been shut for ages," Roshan muttered, shining his light around. "I don't like the vibe here," Mandeep whispered. "Let's leave." He turned toward the entrance when something grabbed his ankle. He screamed, falling to the ground. "Something's holding me." Roshan and Jatin spun around, aimed their flashlights, and saw a thick rope tangled around his foot. They burst into laughter. "Scared of a rope?" Jatin teased. "You didn't want to come, and now even a rope's a demon." Still uneasy, Mandeep let them pull him deeper into the church. They wandered around, fascinated by the old architecture, when suddenly the lights overhead began flickering. "Wait, how the hell are there lights in here? This doesn't feel right," Mandeep muttered, gripping his friend's hands. "Let's get out, now." As they rushed toward the main doors, a loud bang echoed. The doors slammed shut. "What the?" "It was open just a minute ago." They tried yanking and pushing the heavy wooden doors, but they wouldn't budge. "There's gotta be another way out," said Jatin, turning to search. But the moment he turned, he froze, eyes wide in horror. Standing in front of him was a woman in a nun's habit. But her eyes glowed blood red, and her skin was pale and lifeless. She didn't walk. She hovered. "What the hell is that thing?" "Run." Before they could react, the nun dissolved into smoke. Where did she go? They looked around frantically. That's when they saw Jatin on the floor, crawling, like a lizard, toward them. His eyes were red, his face burnt and white. His arms and legs twisted unnaturally. "Jatin." But what looked back at them was not Jatin anymore. he hissed, stretching out a long, snake-like tongue, slithering across the floor toward them. The horrifying transformation left Roshan and Mandeep paralyzed in fear. Sometimes it was Jatin's face, sometimes it was the nuns. "We didn't do anything to you. Let him go," Mandeep cried, dropping to his knees. The nun reappeared, hovering inches above the ground. She smiled cruelly and grabbed Mandeep's wrist, trying to pull him in. But as her ghostly fingers touched his hand, a sharp jolt of pain struck her. She screamed and recoiled. On Mandeep's wrist was a karha, a sacred iron bracelet from the Gurdwara. Smoke erupted from her body as she shrieked, and the shadow was violently pulled out of Jatin's body. He collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Mandeep ran to his friend, Roshan. "Help me." Roshan rushed to Jatin, shaking him. "Wake up! Wake up!" But before they could move, the nun returned, this time, even more furious. "You think you can escape? You think a piece of metal will save you?" She lunged and grabbed Roshan's throat. He gasped, clawing at her cold fingers. "Mandeep, run, you have the holy power. She can't harm you. Run. I'm not leaving you. Go. That bracelet, it's blessed." The nun's grip tightened. Her nails pierced Roshan's neck. Blood dripped, and she licked it with a twisted tongue. Mandeep trembled, unsure what to do. Suddenly, his instincts kicked in. He took off his karha and in his other hand held a small kirpan, a ceremonial blade. With all his strength, he yelled, "Waheguru ji ka khalsa. Waheguru ji ki fateh. Jo bol so nihal. Sat Sri Akal." He pressed the karha against the nun's hand and drove the kirpan into her chest. The nun shrieked in agony, her ghostly form twisting in the air. Her grip loosened, and Roshan dropped to the ground, gasping for breath. From the nun's body oozed a thick, black liquid. She howled as her form disintegrated into dark smoke. The nightmare wasn't over. Mandeep looked up at the statue of Jesus. "I don't know your prayers, but how can evil roam in your house? Please, help us." Tears welled in his eyes, and then, something miraculous happened. The ancient church, dark for decades, lit up with divine light. The main door creaked open. A priest stepped inside, flanked by two nuns. They rushed to the injured boys, applying oils, muttering prayers. The priest approached the last remaining trace of the evil nun's presence. He splashed holy water and chanted a prayer of release. As he did, the spirit of the cursed nun slowly dissolved, this time forever, merging into the statue of Christ. The church was peaceful again. "You have done something very brave today," the priest said. "Because of you, a tormented soul has finally found peace. Your friends will be fine. By morning, they won't remember a thing. But you must go, and never speak of this night to anyone." Mandeep nodded. The three were escorted back to the hotel. The next morning, Roshan and Jatin were completely normal, laughing, chatting, with no memory of what had happened. But Mandeep would never forget that terrifying night. As they drove past the road where the church had stood, Mandeep looked out the window, but there was no church anymore. Just an empty field. Standing far away was the priest, smiling at him gently. He raised a hand and sprinkled holy water in the air. And in that moment, even Mandeep forgot. But the people of Manali never forgot the three students, because it was through them that the town was finally freed from the curse of the evil nun.